over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Paranormal Portal. Thanks for your patience as I ironed out our truckload of brand new computer problems that nearly gave me a virus. I was fighting a virus here, but I got its little tail kicked, so we're good. But yeah, it was a little sketchy there for a bit. I was just like, because like my life is literally on this computer. My everything is here, so everything about the show, all the backups that I have, so much so that I should probably get a little bit of a redundancy here, but I know Don's got the other half. And speaking of Don, he's here with us. He's in the Paranormal Portal remote studio, actually the Paisley's studio, or Don's studio, whereas Paisley's show is taken care of. But welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing as well as I freaking know how to. I'm here to tell you, I've had a day. I've had a day, but yeah, it's just been a day. I don't know what else to say. It's just one of those things. It hasn't been bad. It hasn't been awesome. It's just been. I mean, I hit the ground running. I've been up since 5, and I've been going all the way until now. It's just been crazy. But enough whining. How are you?
I have had a busy day today, too. Hit the ground running, got up, had a cup of coffee, forgot to eat, went out the door, came to visit you real quick, and then off I went, did some shopping, went and got some new yard stuff so I could rake my yard and take care of it. And then I barbecued, had a bottle of Paisley's plum wine, and now I'm just kind of warm.
So you're all loose and ready, huh?
Let's do this.
All right, ladies, Don is ready for some action. But speaking of action, Don, are you ready? Because we're going in. All right, we're back at it, ladies and gentlemen. This is our 2-hour Wednesday extravaganza. The phone lines are open if you want to call in and be a part of what we're doing here on the show. Call in. The number's above my head, right about there. Much higher than that, actually. But 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500 is the digits for fun, for a good time. For a good time, call 720-923-0500. Put it in bathroom stalls everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. We'll get it. That's like cheap advertising, right, Don? For a good time call.
Might not be good, though.
Well,
goodness.
It would be just like getting a call from Wes. I'm sorry, that was cheap and free, but he's not here to defend himself, so it works out well.
Works out well. Yes, exactly.
No, I'm just kidding. Of course, we enjoy our phone calls from all of the people who choose to use it, but if you've got something paranormal that you'd like to talk about, we'd love to hear from you. Simply call in that number, and I will do my best to answer it as quickly as I can. But we've got, I don't know what we've got today, Don. I'm telling you. I mean, I literally have been running all day long, nonstop. I just haven't even had a chance to breathe. How about you?
Yeah.
No,
Uh,
have you breathed though? The point is, have you breathed?
have I taken a breath?
Yeah.
I'm trying right now. I mean,
I,
after I barbecued, I don't know if I could breathe. I was almost passed out.
like drunk or tired?
No, tired, full.
Oh, okay. I mean, you mentioned the wine, so I don't know how potent that is, but I'm just
Pretty.
saying. So we're going to talk about all kinds of paranormal fun stuff tonight because that's what we do. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, oh, my YouTube
Oh,
is chewing me out. Are we connected? Okay.
yeah, I see just fine.
You do on the stream? Okay. Because I got an error here on the YouTube studio. That's about perfect. Why don't we have one of those tonight? I mean, it is the freaking paranormal portal for God's sakes. I've got a green light on my OBS though, so I don't understand what's going on the YouTube side. But it seems to think we're having trouble. I don't. I'm gonna just refresh that page quick just to see if that changes. We don't want problems here on the portal. We don't like us any problems. But I think it's still load. No, it's still got that error. So I don't know, but we're still moving, ladies and gentlemen, and we can't just dwell on this. I apologize if there's any issues with the stream on my end or on Don's end. He says it's fine. I hope it's fine for all of you out there. So we'll just get started. But we're going to talk about all kinds of different paranormal fun stuff tonight. I wanted to open up with some stories that I found on a site called Enki Village. Enki Village. I never even heard of this before, but I dug it up today. I was like, let's check it out. These are just some paranormal stories. It's kind of they're really quick and brief, though. I don't know how much information we're going to get out of these. Actually, I don't even know if let's go through them and see what we find here. The first one has to do with the poltergeist and the shadow poltergeist. It says a teenager living in Australia experienced a poltergeist over the course of 2 years while living with her father. Her mom was a powerful psychic and would always protect the homes they lived in from otherworldly things. So the daughter may have also had some psychic ability. While her parents were going through a divorce, she lived with her father and was very angry during this time. And she began to sense a shadow presence in the home that would make its presence known to the girl while she was home alone. It would make noises, Don. It made noises, cause things to fall over, and turn whatever was on the television into white snow. They're here. Somehow the girl knew that it fed off of her anger, so she learned to ignore it. Otherwise, it would become more powerful and maybe hurt someone. And she eventually moved out of the house and has not seen the shadow poltergeist ever since. But has anyone else? Did she create an impression in that home, Don? What do you think?
It's certainly possible. How old was she when this happened?
It just says a teenager, so I don't know. But she did eventually move out, so I don't know how many. It says a teenager, and then over the course of 2 years, she was dealing with this. So I don't know what part of teen that means, but I imagine if she moved out, she must have moved out on her own. I don't know. I'm only assuming. So maybe she was in her later years. But again, teen girls and poltergeist is a real common phenomenon, ladies and gentlemen. That comes up a lot. There's, again, the two schools of thought. The poltergeist is actually a subconscious manifestation of the person, or it's something else that has attached itself to this person, however briefly that may be. I tend to think that it's something else. I have a hard time with this idea that somehow these people are subconsciously able to move furniture and make stuff go crazy, but then somehow just forget it. Like they don't realize they're doing it. They have no conscious recollection or awareness that they're doing it. They think they're being attacked. They think they're being brutalized. Is it some kind of self-loathing? Is it something like that? Maybe, I guess. But it just seems to me that it's hard to believe that somebody would manifest psychokinetic powers or ability, or maybe we all have it in there somewhere, but that they would be able to manifest it, and then it would be profoundly active over a period of weeks or months, and then just suddenly, boom, would be done. So I'm thinking of this kind of, Don, like the shadow people stuff you were talking about from that gentleman that appeared on Coast to Coast.
Right.
That he said that they were utilitarian in that they would feed on the negative energy, which was good for us. and it
Right.
would draw it out. So, maybe it's a situation like that where it's there and it's kind of all fired up and deciding to raise hell, and then it feeds, and once it's done, it just carries on.
That'd be best case scenario, I would say. I was thinking, all the angsty teenage stuff that happens through those years, and
Yeah,
it could create some of that negative energy, and it just ended up expelling itself, and thing hit the road, and
yeah.
on with life we went. Yeah.
That's what kind of I'm thinking. I don't know. It's just whatever it is. It's again. I find it hard to believe people are manifesting this stuff on their own. Yes. This one is having to do with the suicide forest. Oh my God, the pronunciation of this. The Aokigahara forest at the base of Mount Fuji. The base of Mount Fuji has such great dense vegetation. It's easy to get lost if you don't know your way. After the release of the novel Kuroi Jukai by Matsumoto Seisho in 1960, which is about a pair of young lovers who commit suicide in the forest, suicides in this forest increased from 50 to 100 per year at any given time while walking through the forest. You can find at least one body of a suicide victim. Due to the density of the vegetation, police patrols only search the forest once a year. Wow, you'd think if they knew there were going to be bodies in there, they would step that up a little bit. Oh man, you won't believe this picture too. It's really macabre. I'll put it up on the screen so everybody can see. But this, how would you like to stumble onto this one, Don? So you're walking through the forest, and it'll get to your screen eventually. You're walking through the forest, having a nice time in this beautiful scenic Japanese forest at the foot of Mount Fuji, and then you walk and turn a corner, maybe turn around a tree, and there's what greets you. Can you see it?
There, it just popped up.
They look like really nice shoes, though.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this picture before. Yeah, it's
Have you?
crazy, And how long has that body been there?
Well, considering there is no tissue anywhere. I mean, there's like no tissue. So I don't know how long it takes for that to happen. I think that nature is pretty efficient at breaking down bodies and stuff, but I would say that's probably been there better part of a month because it's just literally bones
Yeah.
with clothing still on it.
Yeah, that would not be fun. If you want a haunted forest, that's the way to do it.
You want a haunted forest? Because that's how you get them. That's how you make them. Yeah, that is for sure. And I've seen people actually going into those forests, doing videos and such. And I don't know. That to me seems, it's kind of tasteless, I guess. Because people go in there because whatever's going on in their life is just so heavy, they just can't stand it. They can't carry it for another moment. Whatever it is, it's too much for them, and they're in about the deepest despair possible, and they go into these forests and they do this, and then you're gonna create a fun little tour, a spooky tour for your YouTube channel, and that to me just seems like wow. Now I understand for the sake of paranormal investigating, if you're truly doing an investigation, maybe that makes sense, but to me, I don't know. It's one of those things. It's kind of like asylums for me, Don.
Right.
I mean, asylums are hot spots, of course. They are hot spots, and there's usually a lot of activity at them. But when you think about what happened in those asylums, those were very tortured souls. And I don't know what it is about paranormal investigating, but it really kind of stirs up the former people. I mean, it really does. I shouldn't say former people, but the former living. It really, most people that have paranormal investigators come through their homes or their places of business afterwards, they talk about how the activity just goes through the roof after the investigations are over. And I don't know if those ghosts are pissed off. Like, why'd you have those people come in here asking me all those questions? You know what I mean, though? It's just horrible. But
And I think you're right, though, because you're adding energy back into that place. I mean, specifically looking for them or trying to communicate with them, putting that energy in there. I bet you it just bumps up the the haunting level even more. I bet you that's what it is.
Right, and it seems to really, like, honestly, from what I understand of paranormal investigating, and maybe it's the approach of the teams too, ladies and gentlemen, because I think it can be done tastefully and respectfully. I think that a lot of teams do it very respectfully, but there's also a lot of idiots there that are chasing that holy grail of footage, like I want to catch an apparition, and and they're working really hard to try to find something sensational. And again, I've said it on the show before, but could you imagine being in your living room just kicking back watching TV, and suddenly there's five people in your room with you telling you to vacuum and to move the pillows and stuff around? I'd be like, oh hell no. I'd be going to a different room. I don't think I wouldn't entertain them, I guess is my point. I wouldn't feel inclined to entertain people. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting way to put it. Entertain people, because I bet you we do.
Yeah. Well, we
Bet you that's exactly what some of it is.
yeah, I mean that's basically what they're asking. They're going in there and asking them to perform like it's a freaking circus. But I think there's respectful ways, and I really admire the teams that go in with the idea that they're going to help the people living there, and they're also going to help the spirit that might be trapped there, or get the evil ones out, or whatever. I mean, that's the good part, and I'm not degrading anybody that investigates, believe me, but I just think that it's really important to do it tastefully, respectfully, because you could be very well stirring up a hell of a lot of problems for the people that have to go to bed there later after you're done. So,
Right.
and that's of course a pretty ugly possibility. So that's the forest over there. I don't know. To me, that's just tough. I don't know. I think it would be interesting to see that forest, just to get feel what that feels like. What do you think, Don? If we ever get big enough, you want to go over there?
Yeah, you know what? I'd love to go over there, but I don't know how much I'd really want to go into that forest. I mean, there's got to be a lot of activity in there, and think about, well, you mentioned it just a bit ago. Think about what kind of a spot they were in their life,
Hmm.
and how that may affect the surroundings of where they committed suicide, and there's got to be just incredible amounts. And why do I not ever hear anything about people, ghost hunters, going in there with like EMFs and all the accoutrement, and coming out and saying, well, this is what we found. I mean, we see people going in there. I've seen a couple videos where people have gone in there and done videos for their YouTube channel, but it's like there's no investigating. They're just going in there because they're being macabre and they want clicks.
Yeah, it's like a
That's
it's like a
just
dare
me.
fest, right?
Yeah,
Like, let's see how
exactly.
far we can get. So I think that might stir it up. But then again, maybe those spirits really want help. And in those cases, nobody's helping anybody. When you're doing just like, hey, let's see how far we can go. It's a big internet challenge. Then it seems disrespectful to go in there and just, tromp around. You could be like sitting on somebody's bones or whatever. I mean, then literally there could be that many bodies in there. But if you're going in there with the intention of looking for souls that might be trapped, like you have talented people that are able to see and help the spirits, then that's pretty cool. I don't know, just some thoughts, but I think, again, I think paranormal investigating is kind of the new reality game show or whatever, and a lot of people are taking a shot at it, and the interest is not the bad thing. It's just the approaches. The approaches are so harsh, and unfortunately, if you just watch ghost shows on TV and figure that you've got this investigating thing all figured out, you really don't. Those are obviously not real, very real world examples. I'm not saying they're not real, that they don't actually catch activity. I think they do. I think that I've seen some really incredible things on those shows, but in my opinion, very few of them approach it well, really, really respectfully. It seems that it's very self-serving. Now, granted, it must be a lot of pressure to have your own show and to have to provide results, because you don't want to sit and watch the paint peel for an hour on network television. That would that would be the death of your show in a hurry. So I imagine they're under a bit of pressure to create results, but I still think it can be done well. Okay, so Neb Sanu's mysterious movement. This is all about a statue, Don.
Okay.
Neb Sanu is a small statue from ancient Egypt that is kept in a glass case at the Manchester Museum in England since 1933. The statue is inscribed with prayers for the dead. The case is kept locked, and only authorized museum curators have access to the statue. Not long ago, the statue was found by a curator to have changed position. It spun around inside the case. No one admitted to having touched it out of the few who have access, and nothing else in the same case had moved at all, just that single statue. And the statue moves around in a perfect circle. It's never wobbled off to the side or toward another of the artifacts kept in the case. It's believed the statue is inscribed to a particular person. Could this person be haunting the statue? I mean, it's pretty unremarkable little Egyptian statue. So, I mean, I can put it on screen, I guess, but it's nothing much to see. It's just this little tiny statue, Don.
Well, anything, I guess, has the potential to be haunted in one way or another, or possessed, or whatever that may be. Anything, well, it's like one of those things. It's like a rock. Can a rock be possessed?
Sure.
I don't, but if you,
Yeah.
but if you certainly take that rock and shape it into something, then, you give it an identity. So even, just small things, could, I suppose, these are obviously, shaped, and so they were given an identity. And so, well, who knows, possibly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that anything materially can be, infused with energy. And it's just a function of it existing, that it is a part of the energetic universe, and it could be tainted or given some negative intention as a cursed object per se. But yeah, I mean, certainly it doesn't have to be molded or modeled after something in order to have that. But most people probably don't waste their time just hexing rocks and stuff in general. But it's usually things that have value or meaning that they have these attachments. Like I always have a pocket full of rocks, so I often wonder if like, am I psychically imprinting on these rocks that are always in my pockets?
Yeah, anything. I mean, like my hat.
Yes,
like
exactly.
my slinky.
Yep.
I've had my slinky for years. And just all of these little things that are around me,
Mm-hmm.
are viewed with some type of some bit of my energy.
Right.
So I imagine, anything that I treasure or keep close to me, whether it be a rock or whatever. I mean, it's going to have some kind of psychic energy.
Right.
I
I
think.
think you're right. I mean, we certainly do imprint on everything that we're around. Like this chair, for instance, is probably going to be haunted someday.
Mine's imprinted too.
It's going to be haunted with the bowls of chili past. Sorry. But no, I think that anything we regularly come in contact with has a bit of our essence in it, infused in it. I don't know. I think that everything has. I don't want to say it's all sentient or really aware, but everything has energy because it exists, and so it has an energy field. And I think that we as energetic beings do impress our energy upon these things as well. And that's why Grandpa's cane suddenly causes the closets to open and stuff, or something like that. You just don't know. But things do have attachments to them. Some, I think, most often it's very very unintentional. Just
Right.
some piece of that person, was imprinted on that object.
Right.
Is it the real person, or is it just like a piece, some energetic impression that was left behind that could become aware or something? I don't know. I don't know. I think that maybe that's possible, but I don't think there's people out there hexing objects regularly.
Right. Did the story mention where the statue is?
Yeah, it's in the museum in England.
Okay, so Ethan in the chat says the statue in England. I know that case about the haunted statue, but it was revealed that tremors caused by people outside the museum made the statue move in a circle.
That's funny because when I was reading it, I thought, wonder if there's some kind of vibration. Because
Right.
it's a stone statue, and of course, it's resting on a perfectly flat piece of glass. And whoever made this, however carefully they made it, it's probably not an accurately, truly 90-degree angle on that, and really machine flattened. So it's probably an uneven surface on the bottom to some degree compared to the glass shelf it's on. And so
Right.
as that vibration is happening, and that's a great thing to know. Thank you, Ethan. I appreciate that, because that actually did come into my head. It's like, wonder if there's some kind of vibration that could be happening, whether it's
Right.
seismic or just by people. That's a great possibility as well. So very cool. I appreciate that. That does shed light on it. That's awesome. That's why I love
Yeah.
these live audiences, man. These guys are on it.
That's right.
Our crowd
That's
is.
right.
Hey, there's a Bergman in there, or Bogman. When is your next show going to be? What? Oh, he's talking to Duke.
Duke, yeah.
Oh, hey, Bauman? Bauman? Would that be how you pronounce it? Bauman, maybe.
I would pronounce it Bauman.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I'm a
We've
little.
talked to him before.
What?
He's called in.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. That does sound familiar. But I was just thinking about that today, Don. So the guy I interviewed today for the podcast, I was
Right.
sure we'd already interviewed him once, and I was like, when I contacted him for the interview today, I'm like, so you've been on the show before, right? He's like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay. But it's all starting to bleed together, Don. I can't keep a track anymore. Speaking of shows, Don, do you know what's happening?
Isn't Friday? Friday we got that Australian fella.
That Australian fella named Dean Harrison. That's right. He'll be on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Dean Harrison, the premier Yowie researcher in the world. This guy's been at it for 25, close, maybe going on 30 years now. He is the real deal. And it's, what? Zach Hubbard on the portal someday? No. No, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I threw an olive branch out to Zach years ago, and he said he wanted to, but he never came on. So I did call him, actually, and he never answered my call. So I don't expect it. But let me just get back to the Dean Harrison, who will be on Friday. So that'll be a great show, and it's a real honor that he wants to come on our show of all places. So we're really looking forward to that. Please spread the word, especially all of our Australian friends. Get on the horn and let your friends know. All of our Bigfoot enthusiasts, like the Duke and so many others, let people know that Dean Harrison will be here. It's going to be a great opportunity to have a chance to look into his world and look into the world of the Australian Yowie. So, I often wonder how similar are they to the Bigfoots? How similar are they to all of our variety, and what are the main differences? And of course, we talked to Cade about that a little bit, but it'll be neat to talk to him, because he's got it all dialed in about as well as it's possible to dial it in. So
Yeah.
that'll be Friday's show, ladies and gentlemen. Then Saturday, Al Tyus will be joining us. We'll be talking about some paranormal fun stuff then too. So I'm just really looking forward to this.
Al's fun to talk to. I like talking to him.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He really is just a really cool guy. I like him too. He's very easy to interview as well, because he likes to talk. I mean, and that's not an insult. That's awesome. When you're interviewing somebody, ladies and gentlemen, the hardest people to interview are the ones that answer in one or two words.
Right.
It's like, so how old were you when you had that first experience? 15. It's like, so was it really hard? Yes. Those are the tough ones where you really got to walk them through the whole experience. But a guy like Al, you get him started and he's going. It's really cool. And he's got great information too. He's very well researched in the world of the paranormal. So a lot of fun. So Zona Shoe is next, Don.
On a shoe?
Zonashue, Zonashue, also called the Greenbrier Ghost. Zonashue was a woman who suddenly died in 1897 in Greenbrier, West Virginia. After her burial, Zona's ghost began appearing to her mother and giving gruesome details about her death and the widowed husband, Erasmus, whom she had only been married to for 3 months prior to her untimely death. Zona's mother went to the town authorities with her story, but they didn't believe her right away. When she insisted that the story she was telling was true, prosecutors had Zona's body exhumed from the grave. Upon examination of the body, they discovered that bruises were all over her body and neck had been broken. Her husband had hidden the damage with a stiff colored dress, and he was believed at that time. Erasmus was arrested and ultimately convicted for the murder of his young wife. So she actually solved her own murder. It was just, well, actually, yeah, I mean, nobody knew she was murdered, apparently. I guess in those days they didn't do medical examiners, huh?
No, I would imagine not so much. I mean, it's pretty much, yep, it's dead. Let's put it in a coffin and bury it.
Yeah.
I remember hearing this story a long, long time ago, and it's always been an interesting one to me because, after you die and you go and tell mom, I'm going to tell mom, and you tell mom, and you get it right, and they find this information, and all of a sudden the killer's found. It's real. Those have always interested me. Those are interesting ones.
They really are. It's a very powerful story because, I imagine, again, there's the unfinished business right there, ladies and gentlemen. This woman her life was ended. So it's really cool that she was able to gain the justice of it and that he was forced to pay for his crimes, I guess. Next one is Kate Morgan. Kate Morgan and her husband Tom were con artists, riding the trains and swindling men who found her attractive. In 1892, Kate discovered she was pregnant and wanted to settle down. She and Tom had an argument and Kate went to San Diego without him, though he was supposed to join her there eventually while staying at the Hotel Del Coronado. Kate was found dead of a gunshot wound to the head with a gun in her hand. The bullet did not match the gun, however. It is believed she was murdered by Tom, and it's said that Kate's ghost haunts the old hotel in the room she was a guest in, and other rooms as well. Many guests over the years have reported hearing ghostly whispers in the rooms and hallways, and the light over the staircase where Kate's body was found stays lit. There's also been reports of Kate's image appearing on a television screen in the room where she stayed, and another strange aspect to this tale is that a maid who had befriended Kate during her stay disappeared the day after Kate's death. It's believed she still haunts the hotel as well. So did she stumble in on the shenanigans and got herself murdered as well? Ooh, that's sad, huh?
That's kind of creepy.
That is creepy.
We got a donation from KJR. Woohoo! Thank you.
KJ, thank you so much. That is awesome. All right. Sorry.
So
my eyes are watering.
Mine are too, but that's because I'm yawning.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Did the housekeeper stumble in on the shenanigans? I like how you put that because that's quite the shenanigans.
Yeah.
And then disappeared herself. It's quite possible. Why not? But they think it was the husband that did it. Is that right?
Yep. They were swindling on the trains and stuff, and she became pregnant, and so he sent her ahead to San Diego and was said to be joining her soon. But then she turned up dead with a gunshot wound to the head, holding a gun that didn't match the bullet she was shot with. So
yeah, that's not slightly odd at all. Not.
Nah, it happens all the time, Don. Something about the barreling, the rifling. It changes the caliber down the barrel. There we go. I can almost see again. I think that's an interesting story. I hope that somebody would go and try to help this poor woman cross, though, or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's not really her. Maybe it's just a residual imprint of her. Who knows?
Right.
Then there's Chloe at Myrtles Plantation. This one's a real famous one. This one's been investigated by pretty much all of the paranormal shows ever in existence. Chloe at Myrtles Plantation. So, but I'll read the segment just instead, or as well. Sorry, I'm trying to think and tear up and rub my eyes. The Myrtles Plantation in Louisiana is famous for its ghosts. It's believed to be haunted by 12 different apparitions, including Chloe, a young slave that was owned by Clark and Sarah Woodruff, the owners at the time of her death. Then one day she was supposed to be working. Chloe was caught eavesdropping by Sarah, and her ear was cut off. Oh, jeez. Chloe was also forced to have intercourse with Clark, and it's believed that Chloe baked poison into a cake that she then fed to the family, killing Sarah and her 2 daughters. She was then hanged by the other slaves on the plantation and thrown into the Mississippi River so that Clark Woodruff wouldn't punish them for hiding Chloe. It's said that to hide her, what? Let me reread that. She was then hanged by the other slaves on the plantation and thrown into the Mississippi River so that Clark Woodruff wouldn't punish them for hiding Chloe. It's said that to hide her missing ear, Chloe wore a green turban on her head. Many visitors over the years have reported seeing a ghost at the plantation wearing a green turban. Hey, Titan, thank you so much. Much love, guys. Thanks for your dedication to us. Well, it's love. This is a family. It's not just dedication, it's love. It's devotion. It's a passionate family of tenderness. So thank you so much. That really is really, really appreciated. We really appreciate that. Much love to all. Thank you.
Oh!
Dope.
Oh! Well, there you go. Mr. MCAT has spoke.
For coffee and chocolate.
Hey, right now, Walmart has absolutely all of their chocolate half price. And so my favorite Cadbury mini eggs, they had cases of them. I couldn't stop grabbing enough out.
Oh, nice. Nice. So we'll get you one of those mortar carts so you can come into to the studio after the lockdown's over. Don will be like 4 bills. He'll be a big Cadbury egg himself. Here's one that's called The Indian Haunting, and a family moved into a house just outside a small ghost town on the Kansas-Arkansas border and began experiencing unnerving paranormal activity. Doors would open and close at random, holes would appear in the family members' clothing, and they would see the apparition of a woman walking through the halls. An Indian medicine man came to the house and did a cleansing, and when the man was leaving, one of the family turned away from the medicine man, and when he turned back, there was an owl in the medicine man's place. The owl flew away, and the family never experienced any trouble again. Wow, that's a cool story. That's really cool. So the medicine man was leaving. The guy turns away quickly, turns back, and it's an owl sitting there and flies away, and the medicine man is nowhere to be found. That would be really, really cool.
I wonder, if that in that form, after the medicine man came in and he did his thing and took form of an owl, which is apparently what happened, if at that point, the owl has an ability somehow to capture that spirit or that, energy and like take it away. I wonder, that's an interesting.
That's a really interesting thought. That's a very interesting thought.
Or it means you're going to be abducted by aliens soon. I'm not quite sure.
Get ready for your probing. Yeah, that's a good thought, though. Does the owl have some kind of significance to the removal of a spirit? Does the owl perhaps take the spirits to the other world? That's a very interesting thought. I'm impressed. Who are you and what'd you do with Don?
Don showed up tonight.
I guess he did. Well played, sir. That's a good thought. Very deep. I appreciate that. I appreciate those kind of ideas. And now I want to look it up. Um, let's see. Spiritual significance of owls. Let's see what they say. Owl symbolism and meanings from Spirit Totem and Power Animals website. It says owl when owl wings in as your spirit animal, it's time to face the shadows. Owl is a totem animal that belongs to those who find wisdom in silence. Invoke owl as your power animal when you need to see the truth. From time to time, we all need help summoning the courage to see the truth. Do you need to discover what's really being said? Owl as a spirit totem and power animal can help. Owl Spirit teaches you how to harness the strength needed to open your eyes and look into the shadows. Delve deeply in owl symbolism and meaning to find out how this spirit animal can guide and illuminate and assist and educate you. Very interesting. It doesn't talk about the other world, though, but that's still very, very interesting.
Well, and plus there's the idea that, certain types of shaman are shapeshifters,
Yes.
that kind of thing. So, but, I wonder if that specific form, the owl, has some specific, something to do with negative energies or the ability to remove them.
Yeah.
So,
well, I got to tell you, I really love that story, though. That's the one I want to know more about that one. The Indian haunting. Huh. I love the idea that this man was able to transform and then just fly away.
right.
Is it some kind of trickery? I don't know. I guess I've seen magicians do some incredible things that are just illusions. But I don't know. I do believe that there are literally very spiritually powerful people that can do amazing things that seem to defy our understanding of what's possible. They can just cure, they can heal, they can transform, they can transmute, they can do incredible things. And of course, if you draw, lessons from our histories, monks levitating in the East was real commonly mentioned. Monks flying around at tree level or treetop level, and that was not unheard of. It was just kind of accepted. And, then of course the story of Jesus or Yeshua or however you want to pronounce it, and all of the miracles he allegedly performed. There's so many of them, these ancient symbols and ideas and representations that talk about these incredible feats and abilities. And we still see them today from time to time. You hear about these miraculous healings. People just suddenly don't have cancer. They're in stage 4 cancer and boom, suddenly they are absolutely healed. And they maybe had some kind of spiritually significant event happened. I do believe that there's so much to understand and to discover. And I love the whole pursuit of these discoveries for sure. This one's called the unexplained growl. A man and 2 coworkers shared an apartment not far from their place of employment. The man was up late one night and went into the bathroom before bed when he heard a loud and frightening growl. Seeing nothing and thinking one of his roommates was just playing a prank, he went to his bedroom, which he shared, and as he entered the room, he heard the growl again and quickly closed the door behind him. The roommate explained he had heard the same growl that night, but no one in the apartment has ever heard it again, and it remains a mystery. Now, that one we've heard dozens and dozens of times, the ghostly growl. Most often people equate that to some kind of demon energy, but it doesn't necessarily have to be demonic. It can be something's just pissed. They can create sounds however they choose to, and if something's trying to get you to back off, certainly a deep, menacing growl would do it. But there are elementals as well that may growl. We don't know. There's lots of different spiritual kingdoms that would have animalistic traits and could perhaps growl too. I don't know. But I find those are interesting, but certainly not overly remarkable in that they do come up quite a bit. We hear about them quite often. So I think that's pretty cool, though. What do you think of all those, Don?
I think I have to be totally honest. If something like that, if something obviously growls like that, and it's obviously not somebody or something in the house, I might actually have an issue with it.
Well, you should. I think we all would. I mean, I've not heard that before. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, that's fine. But I think I'd have to. I would definitely be alert for it happening ever again, and if it did, I might have to do something.
Yeah, I think that's important. I often say that the paranormal doesn't freak me out, and I need to qualify that. In that I've never been really, really confronted by something terrifying. I don't think. I mean, I've certainly felt powerful presences before, and powerful angry presences, but I've never been, had something thrown at me. I've seen things move many times. I was reaching down to grab a pencil one time that was on my floor, and as I was just about to reach it, it started rolling away from my fingers on carpeting, which was really unusual. I've seen doors close by themselves, and it's certainly. I can say that it's certainly unnerving to a degree, but not terrifying, not scary. It's just like, whoa, wonder who that is. But if I was confronted with something that was looking like a demon or sounding like a demon, I imagine I'd be just as terrified as anyone, So I don't mean to sound like, nothing frightens me. That's certainly not what I'm saying. I just have been very fortunate in that the experiences I've had, nothing's been overly aggressively evil or menacing like that. So,
Right.
But, yeah, it does happen. It does happen. Don, I think I need to go to the loo, though.
You do?
I do. I need to go to the loo. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of our Wednesday show, but I got to use the facilities. I've been drinking a lot of water, so as you can imagine, what goes in's got to come out. So, we'll be right back. Don't go away, and we will return shortly.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. One giant leap for mankind.
Yes, it is. Speaking of giant leaps, I got better. So sorry I had to put something in my mouth. I'm really dry. No, shut up, Don. Anyway, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're into basically in hour number 2 here. So, let me get something new to talk about. You got anything you want to talk about, Don?
Well, I pulled up some stories real quick, some quick stories.
By all means.
All right. Well, in that case, in August 2016 in London, 26-year-old Kennedy Ife began acting strange and aggressive following a pain in his throat. He reportedly bit his father, threatened to cut off his own male genitalia, and complained of a python or snake inside of him before his family restrained him to a bed with cable ties and excessive force. The BBC reported the family then set about attempting to cure Kennedy through restraint and prayer over the next 3 days, the court was told. His brother Colin told police, "It's clear that a thing was in him, what we believe was to be a demon because it was not natural. It was trying to kill him. We had to restrain him for himself. It was clear if we didn't restrain him, he would have tried to harm the people in our family." Kennedy Ife was bound to his bed for 3 days without medical attention when his brother called emergency services, explaining that Kennedy Ife was complaining of dehydration. He appeared to have developed breathing issues and was pronounced dead at 10:17. When police arrived at the house, Colin, the brother, allegedly carried out an attempted resurrection by chanting and praying for his brother.
Wow.
So if you think somebody's possessed, why would you take it upon yourself to try something stupid? Actually, I think that would be like tantamount to being just like stupid.
I think that might just be the definition of stupid, Don. That might actually qualify as really stupid. Yeah, and apparently resurrections haven't been going real well for quite a while. So I don't know. I don't know.
Apparently they were acquitted of murder charges.
Really?
Yeah.
What would the defense be for that one, I'm wondering?
So the father told the jurors he ordered his sons to take shifts and use overwhelming force, but denied an association with occults, or secret societies had played part in the death. So I don't know. That makes absolutely no sense.
Well, you see, we were just using excessive force was all, Your Honor.
A post-mortem examination revealed over 60 wounds, including possible bites on his body.
Wow.
Wow, yeah.
I don't even know what to make of that. Where was this?
This was in England.
England.
Wow. In England, yeah. London, specifically.
Okay.
So, yeah, crazy.
That is crazy.
Don't they have people that do those kinds of things, professionally, suppose?
I don't know. You'd think that would be part of it, that they would maybe summon a professional on this. What just happened?
I don't know.
I got a green thing. Oh, there it is. Chemtrail mix. It appeared in the OBS before it did on my chat. The book Magic and Mystery in Tibet, 1932, talks about Tibetan monks who could perform superhuman acts while in deep trances. Yes, exactly. You're exactly right. I don't know how that works, and thank you so much for the donation. Very cool. I think that it's in us somewhere. These abilities are in us somewhere or available to us somewhere. I really believe that. I think that we have so much untapped potential that, we could literally do some incredible things. But how to get there? What is the right path? do we have enough time to actually manifest those things? How much energy does that take to break through? How much dedication and devotion and does it take? And I don't know. And maybe it's absolutely individualistic, but I don't hear a whole lot about these superhuman efforts or abilities in the modern age, and I don't know why. I don't know why that since we have more ability to communicate on a global scale, why have those kind of things kind of dried up and you don't hear about them anymore? It becomes more of a lesson in history. You know what I mean, Don? Like, why aren't they still levitating at treetop level? And, why isn't that still being reported? It is, perhaps there's a level of secrecy around it. Perhaps, it's cultural. I don't know. I'm not disparaging it, and I'm not saying it's some kind of shenanigans. But I think that, maybe, I don't know. Maybe we've lost it. Maybe they can't do it anymore. I don't know. It's curious.
And that would make sense, though. I mean, because there are, what kinds of things have we lost over the time just because a lot of things like that weren't necessarily written down? A lot of oral tradition and a lot of, things. Well, even if it was written down, there was a lot of things that were burned let's say, at the end of wars.
Right.
What kinds of things have we lost? What kinds of transcendental possibilities, are out there that we haven't heard of? Supposedly Shinto monks were supposed to be able to do that kind of stuff as well. So, just, there's all kinds of things, these things that we have heard about,
Right.
but in our modern life, we just have no connection to, none whatsoever. So,
Right.
absolutely.
But then you hear the story about the shaman who turned into an owl and disappeared. I mean, that is absolutely amazing and fantastic, and I love those kind of stories. I wish we'd hear more of them. But I bet you the Native Americans have tons of stories like that of people that have witnessed incredible feats. And of course, the skinwalker phenomena is basically a transformational phenomena that these shamans can do. It sounds to me, in my limited understanding of it, it sounds like more of a dark practice, like something that is more nefarious and creepy. But I don't know. It really gets me curious. I really want to understand it more because if that's possible, that's exciting as hell. That we can, could you imagine being able to just bilocate, Don? You just be like, oh, well, I gotta head. I gotta head over to Minnesota, and boom, you're in Minnesota. I mean,
It'd be a hell of a lot cheaper.
that's my point. It'd be like, yeah, let's get her done. That's like the ultimate Green New Deal, right?
Oh, so much for my carbon footprint. I don't even leave atoms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My carbon footprint's so small they owe me money.
Oh, jeez. But that also goes back to what we talked about on that podcast so long ago, the spontaneous human invisibility.
Yes, that was
So,
crazy. Yeah, I mean that's and there is allegedly there's legends of occultists performing some form of ritual that will render them invisible, or some kind of training that will render them invisible. And I think that that's really exciting. To be honest with you, I think, oh my God, what would you do if you were invisible? What could you could be the fly on the wall in every conversation that you've ever wondered about, And then you got to wonder, what if some of these hauntings are actually those people, that are just doing that? They're just going to hang out and spy on people.
You just had to take it to Creepy Town, didn't you?
Well, I mean, when we talked about those stories, the people, they would sit there yelling at their friends that were standing right in front of them, waving their arms and getting no recognition at all. Nothing.
Right.
Like they just weren't even there. And so sound wasn't working. I don't know if they actually poked the other people or not. I don't recall a story that said that I pushed. Maybe there was. I don't know. But for some reason the sound didn't carry, and there was absolutely no trace of these people being there. However, the people that were spontaneously invisible, they knew they were there. And suddenly they were invisible, and then suddenly when they kind of retraced their steps, they were visible again. So some kind of strange thing happened there. I don't know. Somebody, I think, emailed me some information about the occult practice of it, and I gotta dig for that, because I did see it come in, and I was like, oh, I gotta check that out, and I never did. You just get tied up in things, but yeah, lots of weirdness and strangeness. But anyway, I know you got more, so I'll let you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as told by a Reddit user, late at night, I usually go to the bathroom multiple times, but for the past 4 days, every time I go to leave, I can see myself still standing in the mirror from the corner of my eye. It's like the other me is watching me leave the bathroom. It terrifies me to the point where I almost run out looking directly at the mirror. I never told my husband about it because I didn't want to acknowledge it out loud. Earlier today, I took a nap in the bed while he sat in the chair next to it watching TV. When I woke up, he told me that he had seen me sit up, crawl backwards to the edge of the bed, and stand up in front of our bedroom door from the corner of his eye. He thought it was weird that I had got up like that because I'm in the last month of my pregnancy, and I really can't move well without hurting. So he tried to talk to me. When I didn't answer, he looked at the door to find me not there and still sleeping in bed. I got really creeped out, and I finally told him about what I've been seeing in the bathroom. He thought it was creepy as well, but didn't want to really talk about it anymore because he thinks it will give whatever it is power or energy. I have no idea what it wants or why we both saw it. Now that's kind of creepy.
That's a lot creepy, yeah. That's like something hanging out being creepy.
Wow, that's quite the word.
It is.
Yeah. So yeah, you go to that would freak me out. I get up in the middle of the night to go pee. And in the night light in the bathroom, because I have a night light in my bathroom, so I don't have to turn my light on. And then just out of the corner of your eye, you see not looking at the mirror, but the mirror is looking at you. You know what I mean? Your mirror image. And those, I love the idea of broken images like that. Where the girl's turned away from the mirror, but the mirror is staring right at her.
Yeah.
I love those images, but it would just scare the crap out of me.
You got to wonder as you look away, what if that's exactly what's happening? Ooh, if you're alone.
Oh, stop that.
I'm just saying, I think that's, mirrors were always regarded by the Druids as very, very mystical objects.
Right.
The ancient Druids revered them. And of course there's mirror scrying. There's some kind of mysticism to mirrors. And,
Right.
Of course there's lots of practices that involve mirrors. Including an ancient doorway ritual that's supposed to take you into the other side. And if you ever get there, you can only cast it on foggy nights, and you have to leave a beacon candle burning on the outside. But if it actually works, they say, if you can go in there, don't touch anything, just walk around and look. And the key is you have to get out before the fog lifts, because if you don't, you're trapped there forever.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think I'd be gambling too deeply with that one. I'd be like, yeah, just peek your head in and call it a day, But very strange. Again, are these rituals actually physically manifest? I don't know. Or is it more spiritually manifest? I don't know. Is it a form of out of body experience? Does the ritual cause you to possibly go out of body, and that's what you experience or not? I don't know. Again, very strange though. But that's just some of the information I had. Did you have another one?
Yeah. I got another one. Let's see here. Haunted hotels. When I was 15, I traveled to Europe with my family. They stayed in Edel, Germany, in a small inn for a few nights. My parents had a double bed on the second floor. My sister had a double bed in the room next to theirs. And I was lucky enough to have a single room all to myself at the far end of the hall. When we went to check out of our rooms, as soon as I entered the hallway, our rooms were in, I remember almost feeling as though I walked into a wall of bad energy.
Mhm.
I just felt so unnerved and uneasy in that hallway, but I passed it off as an overactive imagination. I slept the first night without any issues other than waking up a few times. The next morning at breakfast, one of my sisters mentioned feeling really uncomfortable in the hallway, almost as if the air was crushing. It unnerved me even more that I was the only one who felt weirded out. Plus, she was an adult at the time, so it further cemented in my head that wing of the hotel was odd. You think? That's kind of an anticlimactic ending right there.
Yeah, it is. But hotels are kind of odd, you know. They're weird places in a sense. Now you're familiar with hotels, of course, spending a part of your life working in them. But I think that I don't know, hotels are kind of they're kind of, I don't know. It's hard to understand exactly why, but I think they do attract a lot of spirits because there's so much temporary to them. You know, I mean, people come, go, and strange things happen at hotels. You know, everybody I think has heard the stories of some of the debauchery and stuff that happens at hotels. But I don't know. You know, there's every one of them seems to have a story of the jilted bride. You know, that's killed herself, or the other one is, what is another one? There's the child spirit, whether it fell down an elevator shaft or broke its neck falling downstairs. There's always the child spirit and the jilted bride. That seems to be just repeated all over the place.
Right. Yeah, and there's also, what kind of people travel through there? I mean, like, the happy face killer was a truck driver, and so maybe he stayed at some of these hotels and left some of that weird energy behind, or, you know, just these people who have done heinous things, who've stayed in these places maybe for a day or two and really ramped the place up,
Hmm.
Can people feel that energy? And of course they can. It's a matter of recognizing what it may or may not be. But just the people traveling through, because like you said, I worked in hotels for 15 years, and I worked the audit shift, which is like the 11 p.m. to the 7 a.m. shift for years,
Uh-huh.
and you come across some of the weirdest people. As a matter of fact, I and it was just the weirdest thing. I asked the guy, he was checking in, and I asked the guy his name, and his name was Psycho Poet.
Okay.
Why the hell would you change your name to something like that?
I don't know. That's a strange one. Psycho poet. Maybe that's good for marketing, Don, for poetry. I don't know. That might.
he's, he's a super slam poet.
Yeah,
He's
that's right.
standing back, snapping their fingers are like chopping you with an axe. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wow. So, yeah, craziness. The rocking horse. One night when I was maybe 10 or 12, I had trouble falling asleep. My bedroom was the entire top floor of our house, with my bed and such being on the left side and the storage closets in the play area on the right. I was laying in bed when I heard a noise from the other side of the room and saw a rocking horse begin to rock. It's sitting just outside of one of the storage closets. It proceeded to rock its way halfway across the room and stopped dead under the ceiling light. At this point, I was freaking out and just buried my head under the blankets and never peeked out again until morning. When I woke up, the rocking horse was still in the middle of my room. Furthermore, I got a stern reprimand from my parents for being up and out of bed playing with my toys well past my bedtime. Their bedroom door was directly below the storage/closet play area, and they heard creaking and shuffling across the floor. Wow.
Wow.
So was there a child spirit or some spirit or something moving that around? Did they always own this? Did this just come into their possession? Did they clean an antique before they brought it home?
I don't know. That's a good question. It was a rocking horse.
Yeah, it was a rocking horse.
Yeah.
Um, and nothing special about it, just that it's a rocking horse. But it was, yeah, it just rocked itself into the middle of the floor.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, those are creepy. Those are really bizarre. You got to think, is it like an antique thing or something? I don't know. They get lots of energy, those antiques. Again, one of my favorite pastimes when I get out and about is to go into antique stores. I love walking through there and just feeling all of the different energy. I don't know how to explain it. It probably sounds really flaky to some of you out there, but honest to God, there's like all of those pieces were a part of somebody's world. And I find that just fascinating, that everything in there was loved and owned and was possibly, some kind of treasure to somebody.
Right.
And I think that leaves a mark. It just leaves a mark. And I've never felt anything creepy. Like, even the dolls and stuff, I've never felt like, ooh, I don't want that thing around me. But I just think that those kind of things, those imprints, I don't know, for some reason I just enjoy it. I think they're powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just feeling that old energy, that old nostalgia,
Yeah.
possibly the love and the care that was taken of these certain things, or whatever that may be. I can imagine that.
Right. Right, exactly. Yeah, that's my thinking. I think that's fun. But I think, like I said before, we're under the impression that our emotions are encased in this flesh suit. But I think that we permeate everything around us. And ladies and gentlemen, that's why I think that doing things like saging regularly is a good thing to do. Not always because you're chasing spirits. It's not always because of that. It's just about kind of resetting the energy of your home. Whether you're happy, sad, and especially nowadays, people are frustrated right now and they're nervous and they're worried, and there's just this huge overcharge of energy. And I think that if you have it, go through and sage. It'll really probably help you relax a little better, because the more time that goes on, of course, the more people are anxious. And so I just think that's, our energy is really, it's really worldwide. It's like, and into the universe. I think our energy just keeps going and going and going. So there is no boundaries to it. And we do leave our imprints around.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, that was an interesting point. You know, eh, yeah.
Wow.
With
Thank you, Chemtrail Mix. Stories of good and bad medicine men are pretty wicked, especially the stories of how they would do battle. I'm Northern Cree. Our oral tradition is still alive and well. Got to have a very open mind. No, I think those stories are beautiful. They are literally one of the most precious treasures remaining from our past. The oral tradition of the First Nations, I think, is beautiful. It's powerful. It's just such a strong reminder to the way that the First Nations lived in harmony with their world, and something so we've so terribly forgotten and lost. So, yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for sharing that thought. You're absolutely right. It is hard for Westerners to embrace it, myself included, just because I don't understand it all. And I don't understand a lot of what those traditions are built on. But I think it's beautiful. I really do. And very sincerely so. And I'm glad that is alive and well, and that is still being practiced, because heritage is important. And it's important to maintain, some form of cultural memory.
Right.
And unfortunately, for so long, a lot of, I think, everybody's probably guilty of this, every civilization, but of course, the First Nations civilizations had problems. Obviously, there was many things wrong with how they were treated, and how they were just misused and taken advantage of in so many ways. But there was a time where it looked like a lot of those traditions were not going to make it. into the modern world, like they were going to be a casualty of that. And I'm so glad that some of the elders hung on to it and kept those traditions alive, because that's a living memory of the people. And it's something that I think we can all benefit from once we actually take time to look at what they were saying and how they were saying it and what that all meant. So very cool. Just my 2 cents. But
I would love to find somebody who has a lot of that oral tradition, to be on the podcast, because that would be like super awesome stuff.
it really would. It'd be cool to kind of immortalize that on YouTube. But I hope somebody's doing that, recording some of those traditions. But you're right. And it's something kind of near and dear to me, especially because the house that I used to own in Minnesota was a old Victorian house. It was built in 1894, and the family that built the house was named Densmore, and the Frances Densmore was one of the daughters, and she would be sitting in the upstairs window of that house and was listening to the tribes play their drums on the hills and started recording that music. And she ended up dedicating her life to going all over North America and recording the histories and traditions and music of all kinds of different tribes, and her work's on permanent exhibit in the Smithsonian. And so it's really cool. I'm so glad that she did that. And apparently a lot of the First Nations tribes have gone and to check out that work to rediscover some of the traditions that were lost. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's just kind of a little bit of history, but I think it's still really amazing. Bigfoot Odyssey's guest, Barry Webster, maybe from Res Squatchers. Yeah, Barry Webster, I think is. Yeah, yep. I was just watching a video about that, about Res Squatchers today or yesterday, Jake. Oh, yesterday. It would have been yesterday. I haven't had time to do anything today, but it's just been one of those days. Oh, man. And that's why I'm so ill prepared for the show tonight. But I think it's going well despite that. And thank you for pulling up stories and stuff, Don, to help.
Oh, no problem.
You got another one?
Yeah, sure.
Keep rolling.
All right. So when I was a teenager, I used to babysit my cousin Alyssa. She was little, maybe almost 2, maybe a little older, old enough to say sentences. I'm giving her a bath before bed when she looks out into the hallway and gets a terrified look on her face and starts crying. At this moment, my aunt's Pomeranian starts going nuts as well, barking and growling into the hallway. The atmosphere in the room became uncomfortable, and I started getting scared. I took her downstairs from the 3rd floor in the townhouse to try and calm her down. I asked her what was wrong, and she said something along the lines of, "The man with the black eyes was there." When I continued to pry, she looked up at the 2nd floor stairs, her eyes getting big, and looks at me, bringing her finger up to her mouth and says, "Shh," while she's shaking her head no. So, man with black eyes, is this a shadow person?
With black eyes?
Well, who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only thing. I hope it's not a black-eyed being in there.
The legend of the being. I like how you so carefully enunciate that now, Don. That's so awesome. So, yeah, I don't know. Very cool. Those kind of creepy, though. Again, black-eyed kids, black-eyed adults is a thing. So could it have been a black-eyed adult?
Yeah.
You know,
who knows?
Yeesh.
But and then just sneaking into the house. I mean, apparently it's been in the house a few times. If the little girl's seen it enough that she recognizes it as the black-eyed man. So weird.
Yeah, the black-eyed man.
Go over. I went the safe way that way. I lived in this house with a basement. Oh, gee. And every time I walked up the stairs, I would get this weird, creepy goosebump feeling on the back of my neck. It didn't make me uneasy to go down the stairs or to be in the basement. My craft room was down there, and I spent a lot of time there. After a while, I would have items I was using disappear when I would look away from them. I would search and search, And one day I got frustrated to the point to no one in particular, I said, "R, can I please have my scissors back?" I just looked under the pile of new mail. When I turned my head, there were my scissors on top of the pile of mail. I talked to my neighbor, and she told me that the original owner of the house was a jolly old man who loved to prank people, and that he had fallen coming up the stairs one day and died. I think the goosebumps were him trying to tell me to be careful. And every time after that, when something would disappear, I would politely ask for it back, and it would appear in a place that I could not have missed it before. Thanks, old man. It was fun.
That's pretty powerful, right?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, he was a good guy, and apparently he was a good ghost as well.
Well, there's actually another story of when my dad passed away. We were doing his remembrance. It wasn't a funeral. We just did a big party and had like 200 people come. My dad was really well known in that town and had been in the town, involved in the town for 20 or 30 some years, and it was well loved in the communities. But we had this get together and we had to put up signs and stuff, and we were trying to look through his back garage. His back garage was his workshop garage, and it's an absolute disaster. Nobody could find anything in there, and my brother and my cousin were back there looking for, I think, either a hammer or a staple gun. I can't remember which, because we were making those signs to lead people to where my family lived, because it's not like it's right off a main road anywhere. You got to drive through miles of country road to get there. And so they're looking around and they can't find a stapler anywhere or the hammer or whatever. And finally my cousin tells me, he says, "Yeah, it was really weird." He said, "I just said," and my dad's name was Jerry, and he said, "Jerry, can you help us out? Where's your staple gun?" And he said they'd looked everywhere, couldn't find it. And he said he turned around, and right on the workbench behind him was the staple gun.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, exactly.
Huh.
So it
Crazy.
happens.
Yes.
It happens.
Well, and you talk about the apports, the agates from your grandpa, you believe.
Yes. Yeah, the apport from my grandfather. I had just been sitting in a it was kind of a recliner chair, like a lazy boy, and I was sitting there, and next to that was the couch, and my son and his girlfriend were sitting on the far end of that couch, and we were watching television. And I got up, and literally 5, 10 feet away, maybe 8 feet away from my chair, was the refrigerator. I was just getting up to grab a Coke, and so I literally just stood up, walked over, grabbed a Coke from the fridge, turned around, and I noticed something sitting in the chair I'd just gotten out of. And I was like, "What the hell is that?" And so I looked at and picked it up, and it was a small agate. Not very small. It was about the size of, a quarter in diameter. But I was like, "Where did this come from?" And now it wasn't, most of the agates in Minnesota, most that I've ever found, and this is through a whole lifetime of looking for agates, are all the red kind, the red with the marbling in them. They're just beautiful. But this one was white, like a white agate with marbling in it, which I never really saw growing up. And I thought, wow, this is really unique. And I asked my son, I said, "Did you put this here?" And he goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Did you put this agate in my chair?" And he goes, "No." Now, I'd never seen this stone before in my life. And the one thing leading up to that, again, for those of you that might not be familiar with the story, is my grandfather was well known. He had passed away long before I was born, by about a year. But he was well known to get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock every morning and go walk on the beach and look for agates. That was his thing. And he was, widely known for that. And so there on my chair, of course, was that agate. And the thing leading up to that was, I had never met him, but my son and I lived in my grandmother and grandfather's house after they passed away. And I always wondered, was he happy that I was there? And I was kind of wondering about that. And then all of a sudden that agate showed up, and it was like, wow. So I always considered maybe, Grandpa was telling me, yeah, I like it. Yeah, good. So,
Nice.
yep.
Nice. All right. So let's see here. My Daughter was 4 years old when we lived in our last home. I was a single mom at the time, so it was just she and I alone at home. I always got uncomfortable feeling in her room, particularly the closet area, but never thought much of it. One evening, I had put her to bed and I was doing some chores, and I walked by her room and heard her whispering. I listened for a bit thinking she was talking to herself, but it was definitely a two-way conversation. She was saying, "Uh-huh, okay," stuff like that. I walked in and asked who she was talking to. She smiled uncomfortably to me and said, "No one." I took her out into the hall and she wouldn't say anything, but I could tell she was afraid. Finally, we went outside of the house. She said there was a man in her room who didn't want us in the house. He had told her this and to tell her mom to leave. I moved out a month later and she's not had an episode like that since.
Wow.
Yep, craziness.
There is lots of weirdness, ladies and gentlemen, but it's what keeps us coming back for more and all these mysteries and weirdness in the paranormal. Sorry, I'm kind of suffering from low energy tonight, so I'm gonna keep going if you would. I'm gonna find something to read. I wanna hit something on the world of Bigfooting.
Sure. Well, let me read this one. It's a pretty good sized one. So and then we'll go back to you for your cryptid search. This should give you some time. This one says, I'd been on the phone with my then boyfriend, and he said something that made me think he was being chauvinistic, not a nice person. And I remember telling him that if he knew anything about me, he knew exactly where I was going to go. And I hung up the phone, got in my car. I drove to the park. The sun was kind of down below the tree line, but it wasn't dark yet, and I pulled into the parking lot. I thought it was weird that there were two cars pulled side by side talking to each other. When I got out, the guy in the truck just stared at me in a horrible way. You know, when someone just looks at you like they're looking through you as if you don't exist. I thought, well, this is weird. It's late and there's no one's ever here. And then I thought, whatever, I'm leaving. I don't care. I have my own problems. I took only my keys with me because I didn't want a big purse banging around. I headed across the field, which you would have had to have crossed through to get to the woods because there's no trail. I was taking my time and calming down. Then I realized it got real quiet. I didn't hear any birds, squirrels anymore. I just heard something big moving through the woods. And I thought to myself, maybe it's a dog. And then I heard voices. The first voice is a male's voice, and he said, I know, I saw her go this way. She couldn't have gotten that far. Then the second voice comes, and it's quieter, and it says, shh, she'll hear you.
Ooh.
Okay, so there are two men in the woods, and they're looking for something, obviously. And I kept thinking it must be their dog. They must have lost their dog. And then I thought they wouldn't try to sneak up on it. I stood there frozen because that's the kind of person I am. I could hear them getting closer to me, and I don't know how long I stood there waiting for them to get to me. But I was completely frozen. And then I heard the other voice. It was distorted, like if you heard someone talking through a closed door or talking underwater. You could understand what they were saying, but the voice wasn't right. It wasn't in my head because it had volume and pitch that changed in my thoughts definitely don't. That changed in my thoughts definitely don't do. Oh, thoughts in my head. Okay. I could almost feel where it was coming from. It was behind me and a little above me, like it was a little taller than me. It just said, go to the river now. I don't know if I was more scared of the fact that there's some disembodied voice or person talking to me, or there was two men in the woods. I listened to the voice because I really didn't have any other options. I took off towards the river. I made a ton of noise because I was just going as fast as I could, and the voice came back, said, no, go quietly. I got to the river and jumped down the embankment. I squished myself against it, squeezing tight down into the smallest, tightest ball I could. The voice kept telling me to stay, and I just sat there, hoping whoever it was in the woods was going to leave and I wasn't having some kind of breakdown. And I kept hearing them moving through the woods, and I could tell they had split off. As I sat there, the voice just kept telling me to stay and quiet and over again, like it was trying to comfort me. I could hear what sounded like someone off to the right above me, and if I leaned out, they could see me. But I had to look. I just tilted my head up a little bit, and I could see the tips of these construction boots hanging over the edge. I could see hanging next to them this dirty old rope, just swinging next to them. I don't think I even thought anymore. I was just so scared. I just tried not to breathe, and it felt like hours, but I don't know how it could have been that long.
Right.
The voice even was completely silent. There was nothing but me hearing this man's breathing. He started to walk away at some point, and the voice kept telling me to wait. So I waited. And finally the voice said, "Go now. Go to the field. Go now." It was screaming at me so loud, so I ran through the woods and just got out to the field, far, far from the cars and the streets. It was getting kind of dark, and I could see the parking lot, but it was so far away. I'm running, and I start hearing footsteps running, and first they're farther away, but they're so much faster than I am, barreling after me, and there was nothing, and there was nothing. I fully expected to see at least one of the men there, but it was silent. The only thing I could think of was that the footsteps must have belonged to the voice, and I hear them again screaming at the top of the lungs that I need to run right now. And the footsteps came back, and they're in pace with me, running next to me through the field. I had 1,000 crazy thoughts because none of this made sense. Finally, I get to my car, and I see both of the cars were parked in different places with nobody in them. I refused to look behind me. If there hadn't been a voice, I would probably be in a missing persons case. It got me out of there. And now, so it got me out of there. So the voice just guided her through this whole ordeal.
Wow. That's kind of cool.
Makes you wonder how well her boyfriend knew her, because apparently he didn't show up.
Well, you got that. I don't know. Some guys, there's those chivalrous guys that'll put themselves out there and they'll do the protecting and all that, and then there's the other guys that'll be like, "I'm out of here," and they're like bolt into the car in front of everybody else. It's like you kind of should probably be a little bit more masculine than running like a little girl. But no, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound sexist. I don't say that to put down women. I know many brave, strong women that are more brave and strong than I am. So, but it's just that old reference. So my bad. But I just think it's some guys just and I think today this next generation, I don't know, it seems like even a rarer breed. I don't know. It's probably me. I might just be jaded tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I can't be sure. I am just having a hell of a night. But I hope you guys are enjoying this hell of a show that we're trying to put on for you. And I hope you guys are all dealing with all of this madness pretty well. I know there's a lot of crap going on for everybody. You guys most of you have been shut into place for a while now. I hope that you're getting through that time okay. I hope this show helps a little bit. I think just watching Don is entertaining to me in a good way, Well, I tell you what, it's nice to have you on the shows. It really helps me out a ton, because otherwise it's all just me talking to myself, and that's not a lot of fun.
I understand.
Huh?
I've tried, when I've just tried to sit here and do narrate stories and things like that, it's like, it is so weird to just be talking to yourself, nobody around.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to just, project and talk like you got like an audience of 10 or 15 people, and it's just the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I got to give you props on that.
Well, I'll tell you, as I'm doing like the night terrors and stuff, I'm sitting there and I'm reading, and I'll crack myself up all the time. And then I'll sit and laugh at myself. And then I sit and go, do I look like I'm absolutely insane to everybody watching? Do I look like I'm absolutely crazy? Do they think I'm nuts? Because I'll just be laughing and carrying on about something. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just sitting here laughing all by myself. This is kind of weird. It is what keeps us rolling, though, ladies and gentlemen. I found something about Bigfoot attacks, but it's all the really historical accounts of it. And I'm looking for something fun and exciting, but I'm just going through page after page after page of these wonderful Google results. But if you have another one, please continue.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's see here. Scrolled back up to that one. I must be picking up some errant packets somewhere because I keep getting somebody's voice in my headphones, not my head. Yeah, it's just I'm picking up some weird noise. Okay. Oh, okay. How about a story called A Watery Grave? It says, I didn't grow up believing in ghosts. Then one morning when I was 16, when my friend's mom picked us up for carpool, I mentioned that I was really creeped out by this bathroom under the stairs in my house that no one ever uses. I couldn't exactly define why I felt this way. It just felt eerie. The house I grew up in was an old Victorian home built in the 1800s, so eerie vibes were part of the package. Hearing this reminded my friend of her own creepy bathroom association. Uh-oh. She told me that when she lived in the German countryside for a year, there was a little section in a home that no one had. What? There was a little section in the home that no one but her middle sister used, who was about 9 years old at the time. During this time period, her sister would wake up with bloodshot eyes, sometimes even bruises, and feeling totally exhausted. They did everything to investigate what was going on, including sleeping in her room, working with a child psychologist, and a school counselor. My friend doesn't remember much from this time period other than her sister being disturbed by something the year they lived there. She mentioned that she and her other sister, the oldest, also hated using the bathroom because they would always feel off and find thick black hair stuck to the drain, even though each of them had fine blonde hair. At this point in the story, my friend's mom abruptly stopped the car, jerked her head around, and said, "That's where that woman killed herself. She drowned herself in the bathroom." Her mom was clearly shaken. She said that part of the reason they moved was because something felt off in the house. Wow.
Yikes.
Well, there you go. That's why you're finding those weird black hairs.
That's creepy.
And the mom just all of a sudden turning around and going, "Oh, I didn't tell you," or "Ah."
Oh, it just occurred to me. It just occurred to me. Well, I think I found my story. I think I did. And so, ladies and gentlemen, if you're familiar with the Lowe files, it's Rob Lowe and his two kids going out investigating some paranormal stuff all over the place. And they looked into several things, and it's an entertaining show. I watched it and I enjoyed it for what it was. It wasn't a show that you're going to find some real breakthrough information on, but it was entertaining and kind of cool. But this is from the denverpost.com from 2017, June 29th, 2017. It says, Rob Lowe says he feared death during encounter with Bigfoot-like creature. He adds that he's fully aware the story makes him sound like a crazy Hollywood kook. Bump. Rob Lowe says he thought he was going to be killed during an encounter with the Bigfoot creatures while filming his new A&E docuseries. Lowe tells Entertainment Weekly the encounter took place in the Ozark Mountains, which stretch between Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Lowe says that he and his sons were camping there to investigate a Bigfoot-like creatures known to the locals as the wood ape. Now this is on the episode where they did the Wood Ape Conservancy. They worked with them in order to look into this. During the shoot for the Lowe files, when something began to approach their camp, Lowe says he was lying on the ground thinking he was going to be killed. It says he adds that he's fully aware the story makes him sound like a crazy Hollywood kook. The Lowe files follows actor and his sons Matthew and John Owen as they explore the mysterious phenomena across the country. That's the whole article. That was my big crescendo. I feel cheated. It's like
That's what
I watched that episode and I didn't see anything spooky about what they were experiencing. I don't know that they caught anything, to be honest with you. Again, I enjoyed it for what it was, but it certainly wasn't a show where you're going to get a whole lot of information. I mean, there's some background information, which is always good, but it wasn't like, a true in-depth kind of thing. It would be like they would get together, hey, we're going to go check out, the Mothman. So they go to Point Pleasant, look around, do a bunch of day shots of them looking around, and then there'd be a nighttime thing, and then the end. Looking around and maybe not seeing anything, but it was, it is what it is, I guess is the best way to put it. It was never going to be the show that broke any big news, but it was a fun, enjoyable journey, just to see them checking out this phenomenon and what they had to say about it. So, I don't know that I'm a fan of Rob Lowe, but I think, I've always enjoyed him in the movies. I've never thought, God, he's such a dick or he's so arrogant or anything. He always seems like a nice guy, and he seemed like a really nice guy during this show. So it left me with a good impression that way. But, I think if you're ever going to investigate anything, and this is my problem with Ghost Adventures when it first started up, it's like, we're going to go on lockdown. And it's, like 8 hours of lockdown. And then they were getting out. And sometimes they catch stuff. Sometimes they would catch questionable stuff, but very rarely did they catch some incredible evidence, even though they try to make the smallest things incredible. But, I mean, anybody that's lived somewhere that has hauntings, and I've lived in 2 houses that were very, very actively haunted. But even then, it's not every night. It's like trying to catch lightning in a jar. It'll happen when it happens, and you don't know why, when, how, or where it's going to happen. It just shows up. Something weird happens and then it's gone in most cases. So I do appreciate their newer approach on Ghost Adventures, that they're spending, a few days in the same location. Well, I haven't watched them for a long time because I don't have any of the networks that carry them, but I think they're doing it better now than they ever did before. But, again, it's Hollywoodized and you take it for what it is. So I don't know about you, Don, but I think that's about all the show I got left in me.
Yeah. I think that bottle of wine paisley left here is working its magic on me. So, yeah, I don't know how much longer I can stay awake.
No, that's fine. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for us, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'm sorry I didn't have more for you tonight. I thought we were going to be possibly doing something else with tonight's show, but, plans change and whatever. So, I was probably premature in planning on anything, but I just thought that something cool might have happened tonight. But it's just cool to get together with you guys no matter what. So I enjoy it, and I hope you guys did as well. Thank you to all of you who donated. Thank you to all of you who are supporting us every time we come on. The show has just been gaining subscribers really incredibly. And, we have all of you to thank for that. So thank you all for continuing to spread the word. Share the Paranormal Portal with people that might like the paranormal. Share the podcast as well, please. We're always trying to expand our podcast audience, and it's growing as well. And so we're just still hard at it here, trying to bring you all the paranormal entertainment we can muster. So again, Friday night, Dean Harrison will be joining us right here on the portal, 7 p.m. Pacific time for 2 hours. I hope you guys will tune in for that. And then Saturday night, Al Tyus will be joining us as well. So we got a lot of amazing shows right around the corner. So keep watching for those, and make sure to share the Dean Harrison and Al's visits with people you know, because they're both going to be excellent shows. So, all right, guys, that's it for me. Don, anything in closing?
Just a big old giant North Idaho. Thank you during this quarantine time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us. We love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you're able to, or as much as it's legal to. But don't break no laws on our behalf. All right, guys. Love ya. And I'll see you tomorrow night for some night terrors. So,
Good
sweet dreams.
night.